from the year 2024, an American movie called The White Van. This intriguing story is set in Florida during the year 1974. The protagonist, May, was returning home from school when she had an unsettling feeling that she was being followed. She glanced into the secluded woods nearby and sensed an unusual atmosphere. Upon reaching her front door, May stayed alert and cautious. Suddenly, she heard a noise coming from the side of the house. And just as she was about to investigate, she discovered it was only her mischievous brother playing one of his tricks on her. As the evening approached, May was tending to her beloved horse when she noticed a white van parked on her lawn. Concerned, May approached the driver, attempting to inform him that he was on private property and needed to move. Eager to share the incident with her family, she found that by the time she wanted to tell them, her mother May and her sister were in a heated argument, and May found herself unable to intervene. Despite May's persistent attempts to step in, when the mysterious white van slowly approached them from behind, Sister informed Sister Black. The black sister was following her, so she picked up a stone from the ground and smashed it against the windshield. The van stopped for a few seconds, then drove off. The glass of the van seemed to have been modified, and even from a close distance, the inside was. He grabbed an air rifle and went to the door. Although her mother felt that Xiao Mei was a bit too big for her, the driver did not seem to have any effect on her. The driver did not even sound the door, but a few seconds later, the chartered car chose to leave again. Perhaps because there were always people around Xiao Mei, so it was difficult for the driver to make a move. At night, Xiao Mei and her younger brother did not dare to turn on the lights. And it was only when her parents returned home that they relaxed their vigilance. He focused on the fact that they had fired the gun, and sternly accused Xiao Mei of never using a gun again. Xiao Mei kept emphasizing to his parents that he was being followed, but his mother did not care, and only told Xiao Mei to take it easy, which made Xiao Mei feel very helpless. When Xiao Mei went back to his bedroom to close the curtains, he waited in the living room. Shortly after, the sound of a gunshot startled them all. The mother quickly retreated to the bedroom with the children to hide. Soon the father returned, explaining that he had only shot a mouse and hadn't seen any strange man. Despite being convinced she had seen someone, there was no evidence of any stranger, and no one believed her. The following day, Xiao Mei was too scared to go to school alone. Her mother asked her sister to drive her, and although her sister was hesitant, she eventually agreed due to their parents' insistence. After arriving at school, Xiao Mei remained uneasy. In curly hair, observing her from a distance, continued to watch her closely. Back at home, Xiao Mei took extra precautions by double-locking her room and reminded her mother to replace the door locks with more secure ones. Her mother thought Xiao Mei was overreacting, unsure if she was being overly cautious or if there was genuine reason to worry. She had already concealed herself from the driver, who had requested her to take a seat. However, she agreed to sit down to provide herself with some peace of mind. The following day, while alone at home, later, May and Sister Black donned the costumes they had prepared and rode joyfully to the party on their cherished BMWs, singing and dancing with delight. As she and Kurumi were leaving, Curly called out to her and asked her to go swimming with her tomorrow, and she happily agreed. Before she left, Curly gave her a kiss. It was dark, but you could still see the smile on her face. But the next moment, she couldn't smile anymore, because the white van that she hadn't seen in a long time reappeared. And this time, it chased after the two of them quickly. The two of them rode off into the forest and ran away separately. The driver of the van seemed only to want to catch Xiao Mei, and he pursued her in her direction. As she was running, she fell off a rock, and as the van slowly approached, Xiao Mei could only find a place to hide. The van stopped, and the men got out and began to search for Xiao Mei, who was hiding in a tree pit, only 2.5 meters away. However, the driver did not find anyone in the pit when he reached it, because Xiao Mei had been hiding there. Inside the van, the driver circled around, unable to locate Xiao Mei. At that moment, Xiao Mei was so tormented and terrified that she barely dared to breathe. As the van drove away, Xiao Mei managed to escape from the predator. After returning home, she found the driver behind the horse's rear. The driver fainted instantly, allowing Xiao Mei to untie her hands and feet. However, as she left the stables, the driver began to regain. Xiao Mei was still dozens of meters away from her home, choking and gasping as she ran towards safety. The van suddenly sped out of the stables, and May felt her heart pounding in her throat with fear. Moments later, the driver stepped out of the vehicle, seized May, and tied a rope tightly around her neck. Back at home, May had been chatting on the phone with a friend, completely unaware of her surroundings. When she finally regained consciousness, she found herself already inside the van. As the driver continued on the road, May managed to find a weapon and hurled it at his head. The driver felt the warm blood trickling down from his wound. May had reached the front door of her house, but her sister, who was still engrossed in her phone conversation, couldn't hear May's frantic knocking. Meanwhile, the driver picked up speed, and just as May was about to lose hope, her sister finally opened the door. Together, they managed to hold off the driver. Even though they didn't want to involve the police this time, the phone was unfortunately in another room. They had no choice but to block the door with a heavy cabinet. The driver, however, quickly discovered the room where they were attempting to hide. She pounded relentlessly on the door, realizing that the driver was just about to break in. May thought that escaping through the window might be possible. May grabbed hold of Wuyan, but ended up falling too. Then they saw the driver on top of Wuyan, staring at them so intensely that they were unable to fight back and had no option but to run. Meanwhile, the driver grabbed a steel pipe and forcefully smashed the window. The sister was caught by surprise, and in a panic, she pressed down on the accelerator. As the van sped forward, the driver had no choice but to release the tires, but this didn't last long. The tires quickly sank into a mud puddle. Then the driver slowly approached them, holding an iron bar. Meanwhile, Kurumi was unable to reach the driver, so she decided to call the police. They arrived at the scene promptly and informed them that the man had been knocked down. Even though the driver was not held accountable this time, luckily, the two sisters survived. However, the van driver's actions did not stop. Over the next few years, the bodies of 6 girls were discovered in the area, and the film concluded at this point. The driver never revealed his face in the original movie, which added to the feeling of tension. That's the story of the 2020 American thriller, The Man in the White Van. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.